Before you build dashboards in Power BI, your data must have correct data types. In this lesson, you'll learn how to transform columns in Power Query by converting fields like dates, quantities, and prices to correct data types, and how to handle data errors when values don't match expected format. We'll also explore how to decide whether to remove, replace, or investigate problematic rows depending on the size and the impact of the error. Finally, you'll understand the important difference between data types and data formatting, how Power BI stores data internally versus how users see it in the report. Let's dive in.
Okay, welcome back. Can you hear me now? Okay, then let's keep going and do some more data transformation. So now that we have the sales data, let's quickly change the date, right? I don't want the time. Whenever you want to change the data type, you click on this icon. This icon on the top left corner indicates your data type. So click on it and change it to date. Then you click on the ship date icon, you change it to date again. Your city is clean, your order method type is clean, urgent is clean, retailer type is fine, product code fine. Okay, let's have a look at the quantity. We have these errors. What do we do with it? We have three solutions. Either we can remove it. When you remove it, you remove the entire record. So it's the loss of the data. You can either change it and assume a value. You can say, I can replace it with a zero. So you're making an assumption in that case. And then you can either say, okay, I'm going to find out what the value is and I'm going to fix it. That takes a lot of time. So all of these solutions have a pro and con. So based on the scenario, you will have to make an executive decision. Either I remove the problem, either I assume and fix it, or either I fix it by a correct value. A good way to make that decision can actually come from this thing. I tend to use this ratio a lot. It can be either your percentage of error or percentage of empty. Let's say if my percentage of error is less than 1%, which means like big portion of the data is not correct, is actually big portion of the data is correct. So even if I remove a couple of rows from the data set, it will still not affect my overarching story that I want to create. It will not affect my month on month revenue if I remove three rows. So this ratio is actually a ratio of number of errors divided by total number of rows. And what solution you pick, this can also indicate what solution you pick. If you have, let's say, 10% error, then it's more of a system issue, and you can go and speak with the IT and spend the time and see what is going on at the back end and create some data validation rules. And you can create some guardrails in the system so it does not happen. But if it's a small problem, it's coming from the legacy data, this ratio is small, you can also decide to either assume, make an assumption, or just remove the problem. In this case, I'm going to say, I'm going to make an executive decision. I'm going to remove it. So right click. So first, before you remove it, it's actually better to change it to a whole number. Let's change it to a whole number first. Once you change the type of the column, you right click and you remove errors.
I mean, I guess that there is a risk there, isn't it? That you're removing something where you don't know what the quantity was. Like while
Hmm.
it's only 1% in terms of the error rate, like less than
Hmm.
1%.
Hmm.
I mean,
But
imagine
the
if that
effect
was
can be
one.
huge.
Imagine that was in a million, or the quantity was 1 million compared to
Yeah.
everything else.
So that
That's
risk is definitely there. That
yeah.
risk is definitely there. And if that is a very important column and the reporting that you're creating is like a public level reporting, which will be seen by public officers or whatnot, then you might want to do more due diligence before you can make this assumption or before you
Yeah.
make a decision that I want to get rid of it. So the broader point that I want to make is whatever data problem that you're dealing with, you will always come across multiple solutions that you will have to pick. And based on your specific situation, you make a decision what is the right solution in this case. So I'll give you two extreme cases, right? Let's say in one case you want to create a quick ad hoc report to make a quick decision, right? You have 10 million rows and 2 rows have a problem. You want to understand month on month revenue and you want to kind of do some forecasting, right? It might not be worth it to spend the time to find what those problems are before you finalize the report in this case. But on the other end of the spectrum, you might have something like a report for regulatory purpose, right? You're a public limited company and you want to provide that reporting to higher authorities. And the same report has to be updated every month. And you have, 1 million rows with 10,000 errors. So creating an extreme scenario just to make a point that probably in scenario number one, you would favor speed. In scenario number two, you would favor accuracy, due diligence, completeness, right? You will just look at different things, and based on your priority of speed versus accuracy, you will perform, you might choose like a different solution path. It's really a trade off between these two things. So your sales data looks good. Um, let's bring in a few more data set and perform some more data transformation on it. I click on,
Sunny, do we change the format of price in dollars, the currency, or
if I click here, and this is also one very common confusion. When I click on this 1.2, you actually set this as a dollar. Now, this dollar kind of confuses people because this has nothing to do with currency. When I click on fixed decimal number, this is my data type. All I'm saying is I want to store 4 numbers after the decimal point.
Mhm.
After the fourth decimal point, I'm going to truncate the information. And when I do it, it becomes better for the storage and performance. It has
Yep.
nothing to do with currency as such. Your
Yep.
currency is a data formatting thing. And I want you to understand the distinction between data type and data formatting. Data type is how your system internally processes the information, stores the information, how much storage space is required to just just store the information. And data formatting is how your user sees the information. Data type is internal, affects the calculation and whatnot, and data formatting is external, how your user sees the information. And in the data formatting, you deal with things like um, your dollar sign. What currency do you
Yep.
want to use? Your thousand separator. Another example would be, so for example, remember in the data type, I said I want, if I have to give a very simple example to make a point, date is a data type. When I say I want this field to be a date, it's a data type. But if I want to see it in a US format, that's a formatting. Or if I want to see a short date or a long date, month comes first or the date comes first, that's a formatting.
Yep.
Okay. In Excel, these are the two things. In Power BI, these are two different things. Data formatting, we will fix in Power BI Desktop.
Right.
So here, if you want to change it, you can click on it. You can change it to a fixed decimal number, knowing that if you actually want a dollar sign, that will be the next step. Okay.
Sorry, just on that data format, I just saw when you click down. So it's got a few different like true false. Would you be able to then use that for say like urgent is yes, no?
Hmm.
Is that something you'd bother changing or is it just text is fine?
Okay. You can actually change it to a true and false, but for you to actually change it to true and false, first you want to replace this no with a true and then, sorry, no with a false and yes with a true, and then you can change it. Because if
Okay.
you do it without that, it will give you an error.
Okay. It has to be all right.
It has to be like a false, it has to be a true, and then it allows you to change it to binary.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with a massive data set, when you change a data type to a binary, you actually save your space because your text string takes more space to get stored and your binary takes a less space to get stored. Okay, any other questions from anyone else?